like you said, to Trump, but they're getting booty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carriers that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.
All of us coming back. I cannot accept this fade to black, and the thought of the wasted dreams of a nation down on its knees. Is it already over? Tickets to the circus show. If you don't, then you'll never know. Take a stand while you have the time. Drown your fear and keep hope alive. Be the change that you want to see. Be the wrench inside the machine. Is it already over? Is it already over? It's over.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Saturday night special here on Small Town Underground. We're fixing to get started in just a second. I do have a special guest with me tonight that I've been dying to bring back. A lot of you folks will know him out here. His name is Mark Swanson, and I'm kind of excited because this is our new format here in the studio for bringing guests in where we're not breaking our necks looking at each other. We got a nice table spread out, a new camera where we can really get set up and feel comfortable. So you guys remember Josh Pruitt was the first one we tried this with, and so we've upgraded a little bit. We put some lights in here, and we're just trying to get better and better as we bring you this information. So tonight we're going to be joined by Mark Swanson out of Floyd County, Georgia. And this is technically, I would think, our part 3. We've already done 2 sessions with Mark. And here when I introduce him, especially to all the new people that have subscribed to the channel and following, if you're here, thank you for being here. You can donate at givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground. That directly funds the show. And Mark has been on one crazy journey over in Floyd County, and he has uncovered so much corruption, so much tyranny in that county. And his story is being largely ignored. And when I first met Mark and I found out exactly what had been going on and when he got arrested, I was blown away. And I have been continued to be impressed with Mark and how knowledgeable he is about state law, about the Constitution, about everything that is happening, and all. Just so much to uncover. So we are blessed to have Mark back with us tonight. And Mark, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Roy. It's good to be here tonight.
Yes, I'm excited. I know we've got some new ground to cover, but before we start, and I'll finish sharing the groups, I want you to give us sort of your 50,000-foot view. Start kind of back from the beginning, and let's catch people up on where you're at. I know we're going to post part 1 and part 2 along with this so people can go back and look, but start at the beginning a little bit and kind of tell us how you got here, okay?
Yeah, so back in 2020, I began to be concerned about our elections, Roy, so I started ordering a bunch of open records and quickly discovered that our local county election department was deficient in the required documents for elections. And I continued to investigate that until I discovered a key finding about our elections about 4 days before I was arrested. And I confronted via email the county commissioners and the county attorney, the law firm, 4 days prior to when I went to speak.
Right.
I had been asking the county commission for 15 minutes to talk, and that night I was there to talk about why I didn't want to, I was going to recommend that instead of rehiring the law firm, as was on the agenda that night, that we take a 30-day timeout. We do a public hearing, and I can bring all of my open record complaints, and others could bring their open records complaints. And we could present those to the commissioners in an open hearing, and then after that, they could vote whether or not to retain the attorney for another year. So I'd been asking for that 15 minutes, get to the county commission meeting. They deny me my request to speak 15 minutes. And so I engage with the county commission and the county law firm in essentially what my constitutional rights were.
Right.
And I quoted from the Constitution. I spoke from the Constitution. And that's pretty much all I did until they had finally had enough. And it's very interesting to see how it unfolded that night. But essentially, the police came and they forcibly removed me from the meeting. They arrested me. And the entire time that I was being arrested and taken to jail, I kept asking, what's my charge? What's my charge? And nobody would tell me what I was charged with. I guess I was assuming it was going to be violating the 3-minute rule.
Right.
I was just assuming that. Well, it wasn't until after I spent 3 hours in jail and signed my bail receipt, which they never asked me about bailing. You're in the bail business.
That's right.
They never asked me how I wanted to bail. They just opened the door after 3 hours and said, go sign your receipt. And that's when I discovered what my arresting charge was. And it was for violating OCGA 161134. And it's knowingly disrupting a lawful meeting. I thought, well, holy crap. I've done violated a law that I didn't know existed. So I went home, and the first thing I did was Google that law. And I used Justia law because it's the easiest one to access, and you can go from different years to see how the law's changed. So I pulled it up the night I got home from jail and realized that law was ruled unconstitutional by the Georgia Supreme Court in 2006. My arrest was in January of 23.
Right.
So I printed that out and walked in the living room and told my wife, I said, baby, this is all going to be over in the morning. I know the DA. I went to Berry College with the DA. She knows me. She's going to see this is unconstitutional. It's going to go away.
Right. So, yeah, you were arrested. You went through all this rigmarole. You looked it up, and here you are. You're out of jail, and it's just going to go away.
So I thought.
Gotcha.
And after about a month or so after the arrest, I hadn't heard anything from the DA. So I thought, I probably better start getting me an attorney. So I got an attorney. And my attorney out of Rome started contacting the DA. And the DA admitted that she knew that the arresting charge was unconstitutional.
Okay.
But she thought that I committed obstruction while I was at the podium. And, of course, my attorney said, did you watch the video? And she said, yes. And he says, I don't see obstruction. And she says, well, it looks like he might have obstructed. And my attorney says, okay, let's play this out. You arrested him for an unconstitutional law, so you had no probable cause to arrest him. So what's he obstructing?
Right.
Well, that kind of went on for months and months, and my attorney would contact them and saying, what's the deal? You're going to charge him for this unconstitutional law, or are you going to drop it, or what are you going to do? Because the Supreme Court says you can't use the law.
Right.
It's without force or effect. So after a while, I finally decided I'm just going to have to sue him. So on October the 25th of 2024, I finally sued them in federal court for civil rights violations related to my unlawful arrest and malicious prosecution. Well, about 3 weeks after that, the DA convinced her grand jury to indict me on those obstruction charges.
Wow.
But going back, so after I was arrested, Roy, I told you I was pretty good at ordering open records. So after I was initially arrested, I started doing some open records requests. And lo and behold, I discovered that there was this plan put in place by the county law firm. 4 days, you remember when I said 4 days prior to me speaking, I caught a major issue regarding our elections.
Yes.
And I let them all know.
Yes.
And I told them all ahead of time what I was coming to speak about, which was the county attorney not handling records lawfully. So they all knew why I was coming that night. So I started ordering open records, and I found emails starting 4 days prior.
That's right.
Right after I caught them on this serious election issue. They sent the county law firm sent an email to the commissioners and said, okay, here's what we're going to do to get him.
Right.
And she typed out the entire plan, everything, and they carried out the plan flawlessly.
Yeah. I believe, and for anybody who's watching, we will be reposting. That's probably part one, where it goes into great detail about all this. Okay, we've already covered this. We're just doing a recap, and I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I'd ordered some video from around my arrest, the night I was arrested, and lo and behold, I found our Floyd County police chief was on an 11-minute phone call where he didn't speak or anything, and it was during the executive session, the secret session, that the county attorney said 4 days ahead of time that she was going to update them in that secret session. So I just assumed that he was probably talking to somebody in that secret meeting.
Gotcha.
Now keep in mind, the Floyd County police chief and one of the county commissioners are related.
Okay.
Pretty handy.
Yeah.
And so when I ordered the police records, they came back all redacted, including that 11-minute phone call. So and that was unlawfully redacted. And so then I also asked for the police policies and procedures because I believe they had violated their own policies and procedures that night. And when I got their policies and procedures, most of them were redacted.
This is wild. Yeah.
Innocent people don't redact records. Guilty people redact records. And I let them know. I let the county attorney know. I let all the commissioners know that those redactions were unlawful according to the Georgia Open Records Act. And they didn't care.
Right. It just seemed like roadblock after roadblock after roadblock.
Well, then, fast forward, I don't think we've talked about my indictment since that happened.
I don't think we have either.
Yeah.
So anything around the part two that sticks out to you that would be relevant, give us your 30,000-foot view. Anything between then and now, and then we'll kind of just jump into where we left off, which was, I believe, the indictment. Yeah,
so again, I filed my federal lawsuit on October the 25th, 2024. And on November the 22nd, the grand jury indicted me. Now, it's interesting how I found out I was indicted. So I was in my backyard piddling around with my flowers, and I got a phone call, and it was my attorney. And he said, "Hey, do you know you've been indicted?" I said, well, they can't indict me. It was an unconstitutional charge. They can't indict me. And he said, "No, they indicted you for obstruction." And I just started laughing.
Now, let me ask a question about that.
Sure.
They indicted you for obstruction. Now, was the obstruction not a misdemeanor charge?
Correct. It was
How-
it was a minor misdemeanor.
How do you get indicted on a misdemeanor?
Oh,
This
there's
is-
so much to
Okay,
tell.
well, that is crazy to me. So let's tell me how you got indicted on a misdemeanor.
Well, let me tell you how I found out.
Okay.
So my attorney tells me, "Hey, do you know you've been indicted?" And I said, "Well, why are you telling me this? Why don't I know this before you?" And he said, "Well, it's funny you asked that. I was having a conversation with the county's defense attorneys. Remember, I sued them before the indictment.
Right.
So the county had hired some defense attorneys. My attorney was on a phone call with their defense attorney, and their defense attorney said, 'Hey, by the way, did you know that your client has been indicted?' I said, 'Now, wait a minute. You mean to tell me, Mr. Attorney, my attorney, that you heard about my indictment from the defense counsel?
It's unbelievable. It really is.
They know before either one of us know?'
Right.
I said, that is super suspicious. So, there's a whole story about the indictment and what I've uncovered, and I've got some information for you tonight that I've received in open records requests that'll just blow your mind.
I'm sure it will. And folks, you can all also help us. We want to continue to get Mark's story out. So if you can share this out to more groups. We usually share it about the same groups every time, and we got people helping. So just continue to share this out everywhere because Mark's story needs to be heard. So
Thanks, Roy. I really appreciate that. It's a crazy story, Roy. I mean, I'm a former bank president. I've been in banking for 27 years. I was an insurance agent for 7 years. I currently sell software to banks that integrates with their banking core.
okay.
I've been in the financial services industry my whole life. Now, what do you think an arrest is going to do for my career in financial services?
Of course, it's going to damage it.
And I believe that's really what they wanted, Roy. They want to damage me. They want to handicap my financial well-being so that I won't pay for all these open records. And you're going to be blown away by how much I have to spend on open records to defend myself.
Right.
Okay? On my own defense.
No doubt. No doubt.
It's a crazy story. So, knowing that, I mean, there's just so much to tell, but let's stick with the indictment.
Okay.
So, we went to court on a pretrial hearing back in February.
Okay. Of 2025.
February 20th, 2025, to be
right.
Specific. And we were there on a motion to dismiss due to prosecutorial vindictiveness.
Okay.
And one of the things that we had asked for, or we had subpoenaed, was some records, some emails between the county attorney and the DA. And we had a feeling there was communication between the two.
Okay.
So one of the first things that we did in that hearing was discuss the issue of the emails. And you can read all this in there is a transcript for this.
Okay.
The judge does not let my attorney talk for the first 24 pages of the transcript. Literally, he cannot finish a complete sentence.
Like he's trying to, but the judge keeps interrupting him.
That's right. The judge keeps interrupting him, shutting him down. He tries to make an argument. He tries to make an explanation. And she just cuts him off just constantly for, like I said, for the first 24 pages. Until my attorney finally says, "Your Honor, if I can just get in this one statement in full." She said, "Okay." And he said, "I want it in the records that you have not let me finish a complete sentence."
Yeah.
So he put it it's in the transcript
okay.
that she would not let him. I mean, she was almost belligerent.
Right.
And it was about those emails. She shut down, she being the judge, shut down access to the emails because of a technicality on the subpoenas.
Okay.
But my attorney turned around and said, they're in her hands right over there. So we can talk about technicalities, but they're sitting in the county attorney's hands right over there. She said, no dice. You're not getting them.
Wow. Wow.
The second thing that she was belligerent about is we had 2 grand jurors ready to testify about the DA.
Okay.
One of them, I don't know if you remember, Roy, one of them was in a grand jury where I applied to be on the Board of Equalization.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the Board of Equalization?
The Board of Equalization, is it have to go ahead and just fill me in?
It's basically a property tax grand
Proper,
jury.
okay.
In fact, it's picked
Right.
and approved by the grand jury.
Okay.
But basically, it's a group of citizens, just like a jury, but it's there to bring balance between you and the government on property tax values.
Okay. Which is absurd that we even have to have it, but anyway.
Yes. Well, a lot of us are very unhappy with our property taxes, so these
Amen
boards are
to
getting a big workout lately.
I hear you.
And I was there to apply. And I don't remember if I told you this story, but it's worth retelling, I think, in the midst of all this, because it's kind of important. Because he's one of the grand jurors that was going to testify. So anyway, big rigmarole, me trying to get into the grand jury. There's a huge story to tell, but I'll skip all that. So I finally get in front of the grand jury, and this is for my application to be on the Board of Equalization. This is 2 months prior to my indictment. Okay, this event. So I sit down. They ask me why I want to be on the Board of Equalization. I tell them about my banking career, my insurance career. I know appraisals inside and out, 50 ways to Sunday. And then the foreman turns to the grand jury and says, do y'all have any questions? And one of the youngest members of the grand jury, sitting in the very back of the room wearing a black T-shirt, raises his hand and stands up and says, I've got a question for Mr. Swanson. I said, okay. He said, why does the DA not want you to be on the Board of Equalization? Did he just ask me that? And I just thought for a second, and I responded, what makes you think the DA doesn't want me to be on the Board of Equalization? And he said this, well, for the last 2 months, she's been telling us what a bad person you are and that we shouldn't pick you.
This goes into part 2. I remember this now.
Yes, but it also comes to play in part 3.
Gotcha. So, yeah, she'd been trashing you right to the grand jury.
That's right. That's right. Months before I ever got there.
I mean, this story is almost unbelievable.
It is almost unbelievable. So, anyway, I try to answer the young man's question, and, of course, Lee Patterson refuses to let me get a full sentence out. She's the DA. And she just goes on, not letting me talk. And at one point, I even say, Lee, I'm trying to answer a grand juror's question. The grand jury can ask the questions, not the DA.
That's correct. Right. They're supposed to be impartial, stay out of it, right?
The grand jury was there to investigate my background to see if I was worthy to be on the Board of Equalization. So finally, the foreman says he's had enough. He's tired of hearing anything I've got to say, and they escort me out. Well, we go and do a couple things over in the clerk's office, and we come out, and I thought I saw that young man sitting on the bench, but his head was down. He was on his phone, so I didn't recognize him, and we just walked out the front door. There was 4 of us together. Okay. We got almost to the car, and I heard behind me, Mr. Swanson, Mr. Swanson. I turn around. It's this young man who was on the grand jury coming to me. And, you know, he apologized for how I was treated. And he said he had been really bothered by something. And I said, well, if it's this, I expected to be treated by the DA like this. And he said, no. He says, I'm really deeply bothered by something. And my dad and I were talking, and he said I needed to tell somebody. I said, okay. Now I've got 3 other witnesses standing there.
Right.
And he says this. He says the DA refuses to ever let us see any evidence when she asks us to indict citizens. Now, I wasn't really sure
Yes.
of what he was saying because I didn't think he said what I thought he said. So I just asked him again. I said, now, say that again? He said, we never get to see the evidence when she's asked us to indict.
This is.
I said, that's illegal.
It goes against everything that the justice.
I said, it's your job to look at the evidence and see if there's enough to indict somebody. That's
what
your
you
job.
Base your indictments on is
Is
the
the
evidence. Okay. Wow.
So
I've not had one single person come and try to break down your story. I don't have anybody texting me, telling arguing with anything that you're saying. So,
never have.
Gosh, okay.
Or the elections or anything.
Or any of it. That's right.
Because it's all true. And it's all provably true. So that's going to come into play,
Okay.
I believe, when you fast forward just a couple of months after that, is, again, I filed my federal suit on Friday, October the 25th. And then on November the 22nd, Lee indicted me. The DA indicted me for misdemeanor obstruction with no other charge.
Right.
So, going back to court, we had asked for this grand juror to come to the court because, again, we were asking for the judge to dismiss this case due to prosecutorial vindictiveness. And she refused to allow that grand juror to testify, even though, Roy, there is a specific Georgia statute that says a judge can compel a grand juror to tell everything that happened during their service.
Right.
When necessary.
It seemed like it'd be necessary.
She refused. Said she even lectured the audience and said, audience, necessary doesn't mean what you think it does. You have to go to law school to understand what necessary means.
Man.
I mean, she actually said that. It's in the transcript.
This is so crazy. You have the receipts. I've seen the receipts. I mean, this.
So, she refused to allow either grand juror to testify. And the other grand juror was actually the foreman who served on my indictment grand jury.
Okay.
There's some interesting things there. So, going back to the documents, she refused to let us get those emails. That's what judges can do. They can keep evidence out. Important evidence from my defense out. But as soon as I got home from that, I did an open records request and asked for all those emails.
Okay.
Now, it's really important, and all this is in the transcript, so I can pull it up and prove anything I'm saying. We got the DA on the stand.
Okay.
And she admitted disparaging me for months before my application for the Board of Equalization.
Really?
She admitted it. She said, absolutely I did. It's my job.
It's her job to disparage.
I know. Because that's what DAs do. They disparage citizens.
Again,
they have free license to just say whatever they want to say about citizens. And that's not just our DA's opinion. We had, by this point, our DA had recused herself from my case because we had asked her to.
Okay.
And not only did she recuse herself, she recused the entire assistant DAs for Floyd County.
Wow.
So, going back, while she was on the stand, my attorney took my federal lawsuit, a copy of it, put it in the record, and he handed it to the DA and asked the DA, had she ever seen my lawsuit before?
Okay.
And she said yes. And he said, when did you see the lawsuit? Well, first of all, she actually lied and said she saw it on the internet.
She saw it on the internet. Okay.
And I can prove that she lied when she said that. but it's what she said next.
Okay.
So my attorney said, well, how did you first, did you hear about it any other way other than the internet? And she said, well, yes, come to think of it, I got an email. You got an email from who? From the county attorney. Now, let's go back to the federal lawsuit that I filed. I filed it against the county law firm.
Right.
And the county commissioners.
Okay.
Okay? So stop and think about what I'm about to say here. She got an email from one of the defendants in my lawsuit sending her my lawsuit. Right. Now, the DA said, I only got the one email and there were no words on the email. Just a copy of the lawsuit.
Okay.
But keep in mind, the grand juror and I made essentially a fool out of her in front of that other grand jury for my Board of Equalization.
Yes.
So she had some motive to be vindictive.
I got you.
Okay. But now her friends at the county law firm are sending her a copy of my lawsuit, which the DA is not a part of that lawsuit yet.
Yeah.
So why is the county law firm sending the DA? But again, the DA says, I only got the one email. There were no words on it. And all it was a copy of Mr. Swanson's lawsuit. And she went on to say, that lawsuit has nothing to do with me. I'm not a party to it. It doesn't enter into my decisions or anything. Well, here's the problem. There wasn't just one email.
Okay.
There were 5.
Wow.
4 on the same day. Now, you might wonder what day that was.
Yeah.
So on Friday, October the 25th, is when I filed my federal lawsuit. And the county law firm sent 4 emails on Monday the 28th to the DA. And all 4 emails had to do with public speaking rules.
Gotcha.
There were 4 different emails, 4 different rules. And the last email was a copy of the lawsuit, like she said. But the other ones were about the lawsuit as well.
Of course.
But remember, she said there were no words in the email, just a copy of the lawsuit. Well, what she left out was that it was sent high priority
Okay.
by the county law firm.
I got you. And
So-
so rushing it over to her.
So why would they be sending all of these emails, and the last one being a copy of the lawsuit marked high priority, unless the county law firm wanted her to do something for them?
Man, there you go. Well, there's a quid pro quo and everything. I mean, of course.
So
Of
the
course.
DA was happy to oblige because she'd love nothing else than to get revenge against me for what happened 2
Right.
months prior.
Right.
And I
Certainly
believe
looks
the
that way.
county law firm looked at my suit and said, they've lost. They know they've lost. They've screwed up big time.
And can I just remind everybody that
Sure.
this was literally over a misdemeanor
Talking.
arrest.
Talking.
Talking. The freedom of speech during a commission meeting. That this entire thing has sprouted for just that. Continue.
So if you want to share my screen, I've actually got
Yes.
all of this pulled up.
Okay. And we are getting comments from X. We will be going through some comments tonight. We're getting comments from Rumble, and I'll have to do
If you need to
Facebook
take a
on my
pause
phone.
and take some of those comments, that's fine.
We may look at that in a minute. So
Okay.
we're going to bring up the screen here, and let's see what you got tonight, Mark.
All right. So this is a spreadsheet I put together, and thank you, Roy, for blowing it up there. So I have right here, Virginia Harmon is the county law firm, but she's a partner, is the county attorney, but she's a partner at the law firm of McCrae Smith Peak. McCrae Smith Peak is actually the contracted law firm with the county. It's
Okay.
just Virginia acts as the primary attorney. Okay, so the county doesn't actually employ their own attorney. They hire a contractor through McRae Smith Peak, and Virginia Harmon is the one who
Okay.
primarily does the duty.
Gotcha.
So in this first column here, I got 4. Oh, well, let me back up. So you remember those emails? I got those 4 emails. They're right here in the middle.
Okay. I see him, Lee Patterson, 4 times, correct?
Okay. But it's Lee Patterson provides these emails, but look who they're from. They're from the county law firm,
I gotcha.
Virginia Harmon.
And this is going over her saying that she just got one email. And then,
One email.
Right, okay.
And there's 4. Because, and it's on Monday, October the 28th. Remember, I filed my federal suit October the 25th, so this is the following Monday.
Right.
Okay? And you can see right here that on Monday, October the 28th at 3:54 p.m., Virginia Harmon emails Lee Patterson a copy of the commission rules.
Okay.
So let's just imagine you're the DA, minding your own business, doing whatever DAs do at 3:54 in the afternoon, and bing, you get an email
Right.
from the county law firm, and it says commission rules.
Okay.
But when you look at that email, there's just a copy of the rules of procedure. You see this right down here,
Yes.
the attachments?
Yes.
All there is a copy of the rules of procedure amended 228
Amended 228.
of 2023, the month following my arrest. Because they changed the rules of procedure.
You're kidding me.
No, because, and I wish we could have time to get on that, but in a nutshell,
Right. All this happens a month later, and they change the rules.
they changed the rules. And here's one of the key rule changes.
Okay.
The night I was arrested, I had 4 or 5 other people who had signed up to speak that night, but they were just going to give me their 3 minutes.
Okay.
In case the commissioners weren't going to give me my 15 minutes that I requested, then each of these people were going to give me their 3 minutes. So between them and me, I had 18 minutes at the podium.
Gotcha.
Okay. So down towards the end of the meeting, the chair of the county commission decides to kind of go around me. And she calls out the next person on the list, which is one of my friends. And so that person stands up and she says, here's my name, here's my address, and I would like to assign my 3 minutes to Mark Swanson.
Swanson. Oh, I bet that burned them up.
They immediately shut it down. And the county, the chairman, the county attorney, and one of the other, Scotty Hancock, one of the other commissioners, all said, our rules don't allow that.
Man.
But there's a problem. The person who stood up had researched the rules ahead of time and knew there was nothing in the rules that said they couldn't.
They couldn't. Right. Agreed.
So they shut it down, didn't allow her or anybody else to share their time. Now, why would they go to such an extreme, Roy?
This is what it kills me about this case. I don't know.
So a month after that, they amended the rules, and guess what they put in the rules?
That you couldn't do that.
You couldn't assign your time. So that just proves that at the time of my arrest, there was nothing in the rules.
Yeah, you didn't break any laws, violate anything.
So they should have allowed it.
Absolutely.
And then come back later and change the rule and not allow it. But at that time, they lied in a public meeting.
Man. It just...
You can't make it up, Roy.
You can't...
It's all recorded. It all can be proved and will be proved in a court of law.
You cannot even understand over something so small. Why not just let Mark speak, for God's sakes? Instead, they have opened up this huge can of worms that they are not going to be able to wiggle out of. It is wild, man.
So what is it that they don't want me to say? Because most of the time, they let people talk, and then they just ignore them and do whatever they want to do.
Exactly.
Okay? So why didn't they just let me talk for 15 minutes and ignore me like they do everybody else?
Agreed.
Because of what I came there to say.
Exactly. So let's share with the audience, what did you go there originally after all of this that you've explained? What is it you went there to say?
Well, I had told them ahead of time that I had serious concerns about violations of the Open Records Act by the county law firm. And more importantly, it was all regarding our elections.
That's right.
And election documents. And what I had discovered is, Roy, there was tons of violations of Georgia election law in the last 5 elections that we've had since 2020. And there's required documentation they didn't have. And instead of the county attorney saying, Mark, that's a great point. Why don't you come down here? Let us look at all the documents together. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's see what we can figure out. No, they just obfuscated. Mm-hmm. They ignored. And they just
not
allowed...
only ignored, but they plotted against you.
So they couldn't afford to let me speak for 15 minutes because they knew what I had just discovered 4 days prior.
Right.
That I told them I was coming to speak on about our elections.
Man.
They couldn't let it get into a recorded meeting.
Sure.
And that's why they shut me down. And they set me up to go over my 3 minutes. That was all part of the plan.
Right. They sat down, gamed this thing, said, how can we do this? They got their legalese on everything. They said, this is how we're going to do it.
They pulled in the police chief at the last minute to, so let's get back to the indictment.
Okay.
So we got the emails, and here's the 4 emails. So the first one, the rules of procedure that were amended, that was on October the 28th at 3:54. The next one, millage rate hearing. So it's another hearing, just like a public hearing or the night that I was there to speak, public participation. So again, and that was at 4:04. So the DA's just minding her own business, and all of a sudden she gets not only one, but then shortly after that, another email with no words, just a copy of the millage rate hearing rules.
Okay.
Now, if you're a honest DA and you're getting all these emails, but there's no words in them, so there's no context, Roy. If I just sent you a document and didn't provide any context, what would you do? If I just sent you a document with no context,
I would probably email you back and say, what is this?
Right?
Yes.
But there was no return email.
Okay.
And then a third email from Virginia Harmon to Lee, public hearing for rezoning. So it's another public hearing because, Roy, what I discovered was, I already knew it ahead of time. They have different rules for public speaking depending on what you want to talk about.
That is true. We are finding that out here in our county as well.
If you want to talk about a zoning matter, you can have up to 10 minutes. In fact, we had a recent zoning hearing where our county commission let the people have 20 minutes.
Wow.
To talk about a zoning matter. But if you're there to speak against the government for a redress of your grievances, you go over 3 minutes and you go to jail.
How absurd.
I can't make
it up.
It's yes. Sad. So, again, all of these are from the county attorney, Virginia Harmon, all on October the 28th, all on hearings. And then finally, I want you to take a really close look at this last one.
All right, I'm going to blow it up a little bit.
Yeah, blow it up a little bit. This bottom one right here, that's the one we're going to talk about. So this is the email that Virginia Harmon, again, she's a partner at this MSP law firm in Rome.
Okay.
She sent it on Monday, October 28th at 5:28 p.m. She sent it to the DA. So this is the 4th email in just a couple hours.
Okay.
Okay. Now, look what the county law firm put on the subject. Can you see that, Roy?
It says attorney-client communication. Is that a privileged?
So read that line really carefully and tell me, is everything spelled correctly?
No, it is not.
Not even close.
No.
What this tells me is the county attorney was panicked and didn't even have time to check.
You're at your conjecture. She's just kind of frantically sending these emails over.
Yeah. Spell check would have had little red lines under these.
And then almost, you could insinuate they already knew the emails are coming, and I'm fixing to send this to you, and then just
Now
bam, bam,
you're
bam.
getting to it,
Yeah,
Roy,
okay.
because again, 4 emails within just a couple hours, all with just copies of rule or a lawsuit.
Right.
So what the heck's all that about if you don't have any context, right?
True.
But now look at what's attached to this one.
Okay.
What does that say right there?
It says something federal suit.
Swanson
Federal suit.
Federal
Okay.
suit. So the county attorney, who's a defendant.
Right, right.
Remember, I sued the county law firm.
Yes.
So they're a defendant.
Okay.
And they're emailing this suit, which has nothing to do with the DA
Right.
whatsoever. They're emailing a copy of my federal lawsuit to the county DA, did it in such a fashion that didn't even check spelling errors.
Yeah,
and this is a big time, she's a big time experienced attorney, and she just made simple, and I believe it's because she was panicked.
Okay.
Because remember, I had just filed my federal
Sure.
suit that Friday. This is the Monday after I filed my suit. They're starting to figure all this out, and I believe panic was setting in on what the heck are we going to do to keep Mr. Swanson from taking our money
Gotcha.
in a civil lawsuit.
Okay. Wow.
Now, going back to that February 20th, 25 hearing,
Okay.
we've got the DA on the stand. She says there was only one email, right?
Yeah.
There's clearly 4. But she said the one email that had the lawsuit on it didn't have any other
Didn't
words.
have any words.
Pull that back up, Roy.
Okay.
I want you to look right down here.
Importance high.
Now, why would this lawsuit be important for Lee, who on the stand said, that lawsuit doesn't have anything to do with me?
Agreed.
So why would it be marked high? With no other words.
Right. Right.
So what would you assume has been going on from 354 to 528?
It's a really good question.
So the DA's just sitting there minding her own business, and she gets these 4 emails and go, I don't know what those are. I don't know what that
Right.
means.
Brushing them off.
Or were there phone calls?
Oh. Okay.
Were they talking? Did they talk and say, I need to send you these documents,
Sure.
but I can't put any words in them in case Mr. Swanson does an open records request and gets them.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
Because the words might be incriminating. So we're just going to talk because he can't get her conversations. And I'll send you the pertinent data for us to discuss.
Okay.
You follow me?
I'm following you, yeah.
So,
Have these questions been answered? She was up on the stand, right? But this is all
no,
found
because
okay.
I didn't remember the
You didn't
judge
have
wouldn't
this.
let me
Yeah.
have these emails.
And now you've got them, and you're asking the questions. Okay.
Why wouldn't the judge let me have these
Agreed.
emails?
It'd be nice if your attorney could ask her these questions. Oh, man.
Yes. Well, we'll get that chance.
Okay, all
We'll
right.
get that chance. All right.
Amazing.
So we've got all these emails. Now, one of the things that I had made a conjecture on was just like I told you, Roy. The DA gets these 4 emails, and there's no words in them. So how is the DA supposed to know what to do with those documents?
I don't know. Maybe
They're
she's
going
a
to need
mind
some
reader.
instruction. Or maybe she's a mind reader. Well, she is a mind reader. She did say that on the stand as well.
Wow, okay.
That she can read minds. She can predict a crime before it ever happens.
Wow, this is Minority Report.
It's
stuff going on.
Minority Report. I actually made a post one day about Minority Report
That's
because apparently the DA is clairvoyant. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing, right? So I finally decided that they had been talking, most likely on their cell phones.
Okay.
Well, guess what?
I'm going to guess. I bet you can get access to those records. Oh, wow. So were you correct in your assumptions?
Well, we'll look at them together because some of this not even my Facebook viewers have seen.
Wow. Okay.
So we're going to get into
Man.
uncharted territory
Okay.
right here on your show tonight.
Hey, like I said, anybody has any doubt here? We're bringing the receipts. I don't think that anybody I've ever met has more receipts than Mark Swanson. And by the way, if you're not following him on Facebook and all of his drops, he keeps so much information out there for everybody to look at. It's astounding. You have to remember, folks, two things, and then we're going to continue on. All of this started over a misdemeanor from freedom of speech, being able to use his time to speak. That is how small of a nugget that has been created here to allow Mark and the providence for his story, everything to unravel all of this tyranny. And I want everybody to remember that out there, because Mark Swanson is just a normal, everyday, working class dude who just decided to Google a couple of laws, and here we are. And that's how important this story is, because you don't think you can make a difference, folks. Let me tell you something. Mark is the shining example of a difference.
And remember, I'm really focused on election integrity.
And that's the other. You were going down election integrity, which, again, we're not going to cover all that tonight. We have two parts that you got to catch up on. But all this goes into election integrity like you wouldn't believe.
But,
So,
Roy, I have a special surprise for all your
Okay.
visitors who stay until the very end.
Okay.
An unseen discovery is
Wow.
going to be presented about our 2024 elections
Wow, you're
tonight.
giving me cold chills,
Okay?
man. All right.
Right here
all right.
on your show, buddy.
All right, let's go for it.
All right, so I ordered, I put in a request for
Okay.
the phone records for the DA and the county law firm.
All right.
Now, the DA responded that she only uses her personal cell phone, and it is her personal cell phone and not that belonging to the county.
Okay.
The county doesn't reimburse her for her personal cell phone, so therefore I can't get any of her cell phone records,
All right.
except that's not true.
Okay.
So once I informed her what the appropriate legal citations and precedent, she quoted me back an ungodly sum
Oh.
for her cell phone records.
I see. So you've already called her bluff, and now she's like, I'm going to ante up. We're going to make this very expensive.
So at first I was looking for about 3 or 4 months worth of cell phone records. Now, when I asked for the police, I think I got 6 policemen, and I got their cell phone records for a month, and I don't think I paid but a couple $100 for
Okay.
theirs.
That's right. Yes.
And of course, they were all redacted. Well, when the amount was so high, I decided to keep whittling down the time frame. So I whittled it down until I got down to 5 days.
Okay.
And I thought I could maybe scrape together enough money to buy 5 days worth of cell phone records
My God.
for the DA and for the county law firm.
Can you give us a ballpark? I mean,
I'm going to show you the exact numbers. Are you
holy
ready?
I don't know if I'm ready, folks. Okay.
It's going to hurt your feelings. It hurt mine. But it was worth buying them.
My God.
So on this side is Lee Patterson's cell phone logs.
Okay.
Okay?
So I see the dates.
So this, Roy, is the entire record that she provided me
Okay.
of her cell phone calls. Have you ever looked at your cell phone bill?
I have.
Does
Every
it look
month.
like Does it look like that?
No. It does not look like that.
And she charged me $1,151
Wow.
for these 3, 6, 9, 10 calls.
Now, when you say she, is that she
DA.
charged you personally? Is that her money? Did that go to did that go to the Floyd
It's
County?
not supposed to be her money.
Okay.
I made it payable to Floyd County District Attorney.
Okay. Okay.
Now, what
Just
she
making
did
sure.
with the money, I don't have any
Yeah,
idea.
So you
but,
paid, you paid the district attorney's office.
but
Okay.
she charged me.
Yeah, that's $1,100.
She charged me
$51.
$1,151. Wow. To redact her personal cell phone records.
Okay, so wait a minute. You're saying that you paid for these specific cell phone records, $1,151, and what you got was it was all redacted?
No.
Okay, it wasn't all
I
redacted.
paid her $1,150 because she said it was going to take like 50 hours to redact her cell phone records.
Okay.
So pull that back up.
Okay.
And we're looking at this section right here.
Okay.
Do you see any redactions?
I mean, I don't see any redactions there. And these are specific phone calls, right?
Specific phone calls. What's supposed to be on this list for these 5 days, and I'll tell you what the 5 days are.
Okay.
Are any phone calls for business, official business
I got you.
of the government.
Okay.
Okay?
Right. You weren't looking for any personal phone calls. You wanted to know any communications between her on
Business
the job.
phone calls.
Gotcha. Okay.
And apparently, in these 5 days, she only made 10, or
I
only
see.
received. There's only one incoming call, and the rest are outgoing calls.
I see.
So, for 5 days, she only made 10 calls.
I see the picture.
10 official business calls.
Okay.
Now, how do I know, Roy? Look at that record. Whose record does that belong to?
And that belongs to Lee Patterson.
How do you know?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know on that record that it belongs. It doesn't say that. It just says it says the names.
It says calls from 1024 to 1123.
Right. That's it.
That's it. And that's not 5 days. Actually, that's almost a month.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I actually got a month's worth. So for a month, she only made 10 phone calls.
Wait a minute. Oh, okay. So you originally you're saying that you did request for an entire month.
I got an entire month from her, but I only got 5 days from Virginia. We'll talk about that in a second.
All right.
But let's stay on.
Okay.
So what you see in this box is exactly what I got from the open records.
Okay.
I haven't cut anything off. I haven't redacted anything. It's exactly the way it came.
Okay.
And how do I know that's the DA's cell phone, Lee Patterson's cell phone?
There's
records?
nothing on here that I'm looking at that tells me it was.
There's no phone number for her.
Right.
There's no name. There's no address. I don't even know what cell phone carrier it is.
Okay.
How do I know that this is a legitimate document?
That's true. I wouldn't know how to even answer that. I don't know.
Did she sign it?
What I'm seeing right there, no.
Is there a date?
The dates of the phone calls, that's it.
So we don't know if Lee Patterson made these phone calls or if somebody else made these phone calls.
Right.
There's no way. So if I'm going to court to show the judge, Your Honor, here's the DA's month-long cell phone records, and the judge is going to look at that. What do you think the judge is going to say?
The judge would probably tell you the same thing. You have no way of knowing. There's nothing written or any kind of documentation to show.
You got a worthless piece of paper, Mr. Swanson, that you paid $1,151 of your hard-earned money for.
Inadmissible to this trial.
It is inadmissible.
Man.
So imagine the DA
Yeah.
is tampering with evidence in my trial. Is it okay for a DA to tamper with evidence, Roy?
Well, absolutely not. No, it's not okay.
Now look at the phone calls.
Okay.
So official business, for a month, the primary thing that she does with her official business is she calls a local dessert company, donut shop, the Sweet Bar. There's one, there's two, there's three.
I see. Okay.
So apparently calling the Sweet Bar is official business.
Getting donuts. Yeah, I got you.
So
Bear
if we take
claws.
those out, now we're only down to 7 business calls for 1 month.
Man,
How much are we paying her?
their DA's not real busy, are they?
Obviously not doing much work. Maybe doing a bunch of other things.
Man.
But I want you to notice something. Do you see this call on October the 26th?
Yes, to Allison Waters.
And you see this call on October the 29th?
Yes.
Do you know who Allison Waters is?
I do not.
The chair of the county commission. Also, one of the defendants in my federal lawsuit.
Oh, okay. So that's your county chair, 2 phone calls to the DA. Okay?
They're outgoing. So The DA called
her. Okay.
Called her. She didn't call the DA. Now, remember, I filed my federal lawsuit October the 25th. This shows October the 26th.
Yep.
Well, I got into a Facebook argument with Allison Waters.
Okay.
She decided to comment on one of my posts.
All right.
I made a post regarding the disparate rules that they have for public speaking. They have a 10-minute rule and a 3-minute rule. And she said that's not true.
Okay.
And then I said, show me why it's not true, because you've got an official rule over here for 10 minutes, and you've got an unwritten rule over here, a secret rule over here for 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it just depends on what you want to talk about. And the government can't pick.
No, they don't get to pick and choose what you talk about. No.
And they don't get to give some people more time than others.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
if there's a 3-minute limit, there's a 3-minute limit for everybody.
I mean, I also would say that the fact that you reached out to ask for more time, I have been in commission meetings where people have requested more time. I've seen commission meetings.
I went by the rules.
Exactly. It's
to
not
get
like
on
you
the
were trying to
agenda.
break the rules or anything.
I went by all the rules.
Yes.
Until they decided not to go by the rules.
Amen.
But I'm the one facing
Gotcha.
a court hearing and potentially 12 months in prison.
Man, which is ridiculous. Okay.
Meanwhile, the DA gets to, talk bad about me in front of the grand jury, gets to give me whatever this document is
Yes.
for a cell phone record.
Right. So you've
and
got
charge
this.
me $1,151. That's $115 per phone call.
That's wild, man.
$115 per phone call.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. This is just getting
Well, wait,
crazier.
it gets better.
All right.
So I had also asked for Virginia Harmon, because remember, Virginia Harmon, the county law firm, she was sending those 4 emails right here to the DA.
Yes.
On the
Yes.
Monday after I filed my suit on Friday.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I couldn't afford a month's worth of records for her. It was crazy. What you see in this little picture right here, she charged me $2,348
Yeah, I was just
for
noticing
5 days worth of phone calls.
that. Yeah, 2,000. God, so you spent $1,151 over here
For
Then
a
you had to-
month.
Yeah, then you spent almost $2,350, and this is from the Harmon, Virginia Harmon.
Her cell phone record.
Holy moly!
Now, at first, she said that she wasn't subject to open records because she's a private individual. But I had to remind them that there was a Supreme Court decision last year that said if you're a contractor for the government, you're subject to open records.
Yeah, and just a side note, you do realize that our state government during the legislative session almost got away with taking that right completely away from us.
No, I didn't.
We'll talk about that after the show. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's pretty bad.
Well, can you see why?
Oh yes,
Government
yes.
doesn't want us
I
to
hope-
have all this. This
exactly.
is their
I can't even
secrets.
remember the bill number, but they took it on an 11th hour, took it out, added like 37 pages to it. That would take away the ability to do freedom of information requests, police reports. You couldn't even do it if you were in the legislature. But I digress. Go ahead.
All right. So if you look at these phone records, I want to call your attention. It's a little hard to see the dates in here, but look right up here. I tracked the dates. So October the 28th is the same day that these 4 emails that Virginia Harmon sent these 4 emails to the DA.
Yes.
October the 28th. She also made 4 phone calls. Starting at 3:47, that one went at 3:54.
Man,
4:54. Well, she sent one at 4:04 and 4:07, but then she made another phone call at 4:54 and at 4:54. Then she sent that one, and then she made a call at 6:15
okay.
after that one had been sent.
I'm seeing the picture you're painting here.
So let's just describe it so that everybody online can see it. I believe that my Facebook blow up with Allison Waters on Saturday, October the 26th, opened their eyes to see just what a disaster they had made.
Yeah.
And then on Monday, I made 3 more Facebook posts that morning, and it put it over the top. And so the county attorney was struggling, I believe, with how to argue against me in court.
Of course.
Okay? That's what those 3 emails were to start with, was here's all the rules. Is he right?
Yeah,
and I was
in other
right.
words, it's amazing work that you've put into this. And you obviously you paid the price for this. But I don't think anybody would ever have had this on their bingo card or radar that you could put all of this stuff together. I mean, this is wild, man.
And they still have not dropped the charge.
I find that so hard to believe.
When
On so many levels.
Let's paint the picture. So I believe that Allison Waters, Virginia Harmon, and the DA were talking about what I had raised on Facebook with Allison's argument over the weekend. On Monday, they got together even more to talk about how they're going to address this.
Right.
And then somewhere along the way on Monday, I believe they discovered that I had filed a lawsuit against them.
Sure. So they
on
were in
that
panic
Friday.
mode probably all
So
day.
they were in panic mode. Now, here's what I think happened. Virginia and Allison both are defendants on my federal lawsuit.
Okay.
I believe they were panicked.
That's what it looks like.
And they had no legal way to fight my federal lawsuit. And I sued them all personally, Roy.
I see.
This isn't just against the county. This is against them personally and the law firm.
I understand that, though. Do you realize what you have been through with all of this? Obviously.
So they all call Lee because Lee's holding an ace.
Okay.
And they know she's holding an ace, and they want her to play it.
Okay.
So they call, this is what I believe, all this evidence is
We're laying
telling
it out
us,
here.
that Allison and Virginia called Lee and said, we're screwed, we need your help.
I got you.
And Lee, this is my belief, Lee said, ladies, you've got nothing to worry about.
Okay.
I control the grand jury. It's my grand jury. They do whatever I tell them to do. I have a perfect indictment record. I don't lose an indictment ever. So, ladies, I will simply indict him for something else, and that invalidates his federal lawsuit. And they said, would you do that for us? I believe Lee said, hey, no problem.
Right.
I'll be glad to do this for you ladies. I got your back. And then she goes to the grand jury and convinces them to indict me.
I mean, it's pretty solid conjecture.
It's based on the evidence.
Right.
I got phone records. Now I want your viewers and you to see this.
Okay.
So we've got 4 phone calls from Virginia.
Right.
Okay, now she's redacted them. Now let's look at the redactions because they're inconsistent. So notice how on a number of these, she's crossed out not only the phone number, but the location of where that phone call originated,
Okay.
whether it's incoming or outgoing, and the length of time.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Now, Roy, the only thing that's redactable on this record, according to the Open Records Act, which is the law of the land, is the phone number of a private individual.
And so this didn't come from a company. This came from them, and they
Individual.
did this. They were able to whatever cross out.
The county law firm redacted her own record.
Okay.
Now, she redacted it unlawfully because you can't hide a city and state.
Okay.
That's not a redactable record. And the Open Records Act is very specific, Roy. It says you can only redact what's allowed under the law. Everything else remains open.
Okay.
So in other words, if you had a whole page full of words, but in the very middle you had a Social Security number. Well, Social Security numbers, you can redact
Of course,
that.
yes.
But you can't redact the whole document to protect the Social Security number. You can only redact the Social Security number. Everything else has to go. So if we go back to this, what you're going to see is she redacted unlawfully the city and state of the incoming calls. She also redacted whether it was incoming or outgoing. And more importantly, do you think just a number is redactable? No.
It shouldn't be.
But she
And I would
redacted.
assume that number means the number of minutes the call was.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we know she made 4 phone calls because they're all right here. And she made them from these time periods on the same day these emails went. But we don't know were they incoming or outgoing and how long they were.
Right.
So was she on these phone calls for hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously you would assume such a thing.
So why else would she be unlawfully? And remember, why did I go to the county commission meeting to begin with, Roy?
You went there to talk about election integrity.
Open records.
Open records. Okay.
That the county law firm wasn't following the Open Records
I
Act.
see. Okay. Okay.
And what is she doing right here?
They're not following the Open Records Act.
You can't make this up, Roy.
So
You can't make it up. But let's go one more thing I
Okay.
want to show you. Because, look right here. These 3 phone calls, all she redacted was the cell phone number.
right.
She left the city and state and incoming and outgoing and the number of minutes.
Okay.
Why didn't she do that for the phone calls on the 28th?
I it doesn't make any sense.
Guilty people redact.
Oh yes.
Now, I want to show one last thing.
Sure.
Who do you think Virginia was calling? Because she sent 4 emails to Lee Patterson, the DA, within the same time period of these phone calls. She didn't put any words or text in there to give any.
Right.
So you would think that she would call the DA, right?
I would assume so.
Now let's look at the DA's cell phone records.
Okay.
And I make it easy for you. See right there?
No calls on 10/28/2024. Man, this is juicy. This is wild.
Is it plausible?
I mean,
Now, let's say maybe
I'm gonna pull this back so everybody can kind of see the whole thing.
Yeah.
10/28 over here. Redacted. No calls on 10/28.
so. Again,
that's rough.
Virginia Harmon, the county attorney, sent 4 emails at the same time period of these 4 phone calls.
Gotcha.
You would think at least one of them would be to the DA.
I
But
mean,
the DA doesn't disclose that on her cell phone records.
I don't see it.
And how do we know that these are cell phone records? How do we know she just didn't make them up?
I mean, I would think if you were going to do something like phone records, you would get something in an official capacity, maybe.
What's supposed to happen is she can turn over her personal cell phone record and redact all the personal calls and leave only the business calls.
Right.
It's clear she didn't do that.
Right.
It's clear she made up a document and passed it off as her cell phone record.
Right. What would the oversight, the legal oversight, be on this? Is it just you got?
I'd have to sue her in Superior Court.
Right, but I mean, let's say I wanted to pull phone records. All right, legally, would I not get these phone records? But they would have to be given to me in a way that would officialize them.
So let's just reverse the roles.
Okay.
I'm the DA now,
Okay.
and you're under the hot seat, and I get your cell phone records.
Okay.
Now, do I ask you for them?
I would think not. I think you would ask for permission for the cell phone companies to give that to you, correct?
So let's just reverse the roles here. What if I was the DA and said, Roy, I need you to give me your cell phone records? And you knew there was some bad stuff on your cell phone records.
Sure. Okay.
So you said, surely, give me a couple of days you go back and you type up a cell phone record and you give it to her on a blank piece of paper, 10 phone calls.
Right. And then she's supposed to just take my word for it that this is, I'm giving her what.
Do you think she would?
That's what I'm having a hard time understanding, because how does that even work? How would that hold water?
It doesn't.
All right.
It shows you, to me, how desperate they are to hide
these calls hidden. Sure.
So I was indicted as a favor. I was indicted for revenge. I was indicted by the defendants of my federal lawsuit to make it go away.
Man, it
Crazy.
certainly appears that that could be the case here. Wow.
Pretty crazy stuff.
It is very crazy. It's very, very crazy. And I hope everybody out there is watching, because, man.
Now, there's an interesting case that's applicable.
All right.
Because you remember I said, if I can get it pulled up here.
Sure, just let me know and I'll pull it up.
So there's a Georgia Court of Appeals decision. Oh, here it is. It's called Harris v. State.
Okay.
And it happened in the Georgia Court of Appeals back in
let's bring this up.
2012.
There we go.
And here's the case. You can pull it up at Just Your Law. Just put in Harris v. State 2012, and you should be able to pull it up. This is an interesting case because this fella had a welfare check on his home for one of his children. I don't know all the background there, but apparently there were some concerns that something bad was happening to one of the children.
Okay.
So the police were sent there on a welfare check on one of the children. He didn't let him go in the house.
Okay.
And they arrested him for obstruction.
But aren't they supposed to get a warrant to go in the house?
They didn't have a warrant.
Okay. So that's why they arrested him.
They arrested him for obstructing because he wouldn't let them go in the house.
And that gave them cause to go in the house.
That gave them cause to arrest him.
Okay. Okay. So, all right.
So they arrested him for obstruction.
Okay.
The same charge that I was indicted for. But remember, I was not arrested for obstruction. This fellow was.
Gotcha.
Okay? He went to court and lost, meaning he was convicted of obstruction.
Okay.
On a pro se basis, which means he did it on his own. He didn't have an attorney. He petitioned the Court of Appeals. They took his petition. He made an argument, and this is what the Georgia Court of Appeals said.
Okay, let's bring it up.
So bring it up. And right up here, it says Harris. That's the fella who sued pro se to the Georgia Court of Appeals. He argues that the trial court erred in not granting his motion for a directed verdict because he did not obstruct the police, but instead stood on his rights under the First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments to the United States Constitution. This is the Georgia Court of Appeals writing this.
Okay.
And see what they say. We agree with Harris that his conduct did not constitute obstruction under the statute.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
But it gets better. So as you read their opinion, they talk about the statute and what it used to be. And it used to be one statute, and it required some level of violence. And the legislature split it up to make a nonviolent obstruction and a violent obstruction.
Okay.
The violent is a felony. The nonviolent is a misdemeanor.
Okay.
But I want you to get down here and see right here in the middle, the misdemeanor obstruction statute was made purposely broad to cover actions which might not be otherwise unlawful, but which obstructed and hindered law enforcement officers in carrying out their duties. This does not, however, make any actions which incidentally hinder an officer a crime.
Okay.
And they go down, wait a minute, am I in the right place here? Wait a minute. I thought I was in the right spot here. None of the requirements. Certainly this assertion, okay, right here.
Okay.
Certainly the assertion of one's constitutional rights cannot be an obstruction of an officer, or every assertion of such rights would lead to obstruction charges. So what they are saying is, if you're asserting your constitutional rights, in essence, you're standing your ground on
Right.
constitutional rights, you cannot be arrested for obstruction. Now, what's ironic is if you go back and read my police report, the officer actually stated in the report, Roy, that the entire time I was at the podium, I was asserting my constitutional rights.
Yeah. It's funny how the Constitution protects all this stuff, yet the justice system just tries to dismantle it.
They just ignore it. So there is no legal way for the state to win the prosecution against me.
No.
There is no legal way. The Georgia Court of Appeals already said, hey, if it comes up here, we've already made this decision.
Man.
So in essence, they can't even prosecute me.
Mm-hmm.
They can't prosecute me on the unconstitutional charge
Right.
that I was originally arrested on, and they can't arrest me while I was asserting my constitutional rights for obstruction. Now, let me ask you, you're in the bonding business, are you not?
Mm-hmm.
Can the government just move a bond around depending on what charge they want?
Well, they can. They've seen them do it.
So in my case,
Right.
when I was originally arrested under the unconstitutional charge,
Right.
I did a $1,300 bond,
Yes.
and it stated my charge
Right.
was disrupting a lawful meeting, which was ruled unconstitutional.
Yes.
But when I was indicted, they simply took that bond and stuck it on my indictment for the misdemeanor obstruction charge.
Now, see, that's where I would disagree. With
Exactly.
how could, when you say move a bond around, I get it, but it would in my opinion, if you're on a misdemeanor that hasn't even been tried yet, and that they take it to a grand jury, to me, it would have to prove evidentially that it would have to be moved to some sort of a felony charge. In other words, it would have to be shown that it was worse or added something to it. You see what I'm saying?
So I looked on the judicial calendars of our 4 Superior Court judges
Okay.
for 2 months is all I had access to. I found 92 cases in those 2 months where the highest charge was a minor misdemeanor.
Okay.
Okay? So they might have had other charges, but the highest charge was a minor misdemeanor versus a felony charge, which also might have some minor misdemeanor. Okay? But 92 cases where the minor misdemeanor was the highest charge. None of those cases were indicted by a grand jury except one.
Okay. And let me guess, was that Mark Swanson? You see what I'm saying? Like, if you get arrested on a misdemeanor and you go to court, or not even go to court, but let's just say that it's an investigation. So the only way I think you would be indicted is if they wanted to add a charge to you. In other words, add evidence into the ongoing case, and that would not change the misdemeanor. Your misdemeanor would still be there. However, that misdemeanor would carry over to the new charge. You didn't get a new charge here. It's the same charge. This is blowing my mind here.
Isn't it crazy?
It is. I hope everybody understands what.
Now, what's even worse is when you look at the indictment itself, Roy, it lists the witnesses who witnessed the crime.
Okay.
They are all members of the government. They didn't ask the 8 or 10 public members that were there
Right.
any statements. They never collected a statement. They never called them to ask them, hey, what did you see? What's your opinion? Only the government were the witnesses on the indictment.
Listen. All right.
Pretty handy, isn't it?
So you've got.
And most of those, Roy, were defendants on my federal case.
Okay. So I know. So we're over an hour, almost an hour. We've got time. We're good. And I do want to go through some comments. You let me know when a good break is so we can go through. But I guess I'm going to ask this question. But
Sure.
how on earth has this not made it up to a higher court? How I know there's more that we're going to cover, but I have to ask this: How is there not a response from legislators, somebody in a higher circuit court, the capital, for crying out loud. Like, why has somebody not intervened in this case and said, my God, this is a mess?
So why haven't they?
Yes.
What reason? Is it because they don't know about my case?
It's possible. I mean, but how on earth does this stuff go on for this long and people not know about
All
this?
of my county legislatures know exactly what's going on.
Okay.
All of them. So does my U.S. representative.
Okay.
Marjorie Taylor
Taylor Greene. She knows about this.
She knows about this.
Okay.
They all know.
And nothing. Crickets?
To me, it's even a more fundamental question, because
yes.
if you're on a superior court,
Okay.
and you're a judge, and you see that somebody was arrested for a charge that was ruled unconstitutional 20 years prior, what would you do? Would you continue to let the state prosecute this fella?
I wouldn't. If unconstitutionally?
Why wouldn't the first judge who got this look at it and go, "You guys are crazy"?
Yeah, exactly.
So the only thing I can gain from that is they're all protecting the government. Because if a judge has any respect for the Constitution, this case would not be prosecuted.
Yeah, it should have been thrown out.
We got a new prosecutor. I assumed that once we finally got somebody outside the county, he would look all facts and say, this is clearly a sham prosecution.
Right.
And drop it. But he hasn't. We even appealed for a bias for one of the judges that we felt we had a jam up and jelly tight. I can go into all of that.
Right.
And again, at the heart of this was a Georgia appellate court decision that you can't be arrested while you're asserting your constitutional rights. And they refused to hear the case.
Man.
So, Roy, you got to ask yourself, why is the government, the state of Georgia, so interested in making sure I go to jail for 12 months?
I don't know. I mean, we just passed tort reform in this state by a Republican governor. I mean, we've been looking at the law. How could this not be on somebody's radar? It's mind-blowing.
There's a reason.
Okay. You tell me your reason, then we'll go to comments.
Elections.
Elections, that's right. It all goes back to what you've uncovered. Man, you guys got to go back and watch part 1 and part 2. It's astounding.
But
all right.
stay tuned to the end, because
so we'll
be
do
an election
comments,
revelation.
and then we're going to go to a revelation. So I'm going to go and pull up. I've got Facebook comments pulled up, guys. I'm really sorry it's not in my feed, but we're going to go through comments. So here we go. Good to have you, Nick Ware. He says, county attorneys are the most powerful people in a county government. They control everything by manipulation of elected officials, whom are prey to attorneys due to the politicians' ignorance. So there you go.
And that's clearly what's happened here.
Yes. Oh, Ray Blankenship. And I was going to mention this. Thank you, Ray, for being here. It says, we've seen it firsthand here in Catoosa County, haven't we, brother? Obviously, the 11th Court of Appeals on the accountability, freedom of association, they're going through this right now. We've got other cases everywhere. I mean, it's astounding.
It is.
And Earl Klein, good to have you. Richard Schroeder says, fake cell phone records should be a felony.
Amen,
I'm
brother.
telling you. Are you, Richard? I'm sure this is blowing your mind too. I can't. I mean, just I want to get a copy of that. Just everything that you've laid out there.
Absolutely.
And,
you know, have anything I've got.
I don't ever doubt you. But the way that you put all that together, and I'm sitting here like, okay, this is conjecture. He's speculating, right? But after you go through the entire thing, and you're like, you can see it as plain as day.
It's pretty compelling.
It is. It is. Okay. And Nick says, yes, sir, our county attorney is the only one in the world that defines a chicken as a non-domesticated animal, and our commissioners believed him over expert researchers. Seriously, the war started with the chicken wars in Catoosa County, and now look where they're at. Now they've got legislation in place to audit the school system. I mean, I'm telling you, these very minor little things are what open up and sprout an entire revolution.
Roy, elections matter. And if we don't have elections, we have no rights.
You are not kidding. It's the basis.
It's the foundation for our entire government system.
Absolutely. Okay, Richard Schroeder says nearly all Georgia counties are running the election through the Secretary of State, Raffensperger directives instead of Georgia election codes. We know, that is beyond a shadow of a doubt true. We know it.
It is, yes.
100%. Thank you for watching, Renee Baker. Jan Weaver is watching.
Hey,
Jan Weaver, a special person.
Yes.
And I understand that she helps out a lot in this movement. And
she is a great prayer warrior.
Yes, she is.
And a wonderful encourager, and she's just a beautiful human being.
And she really cares about election integrity. We appreciate her. Richard Schroeder says, we need to bring Mark back so he can show the election results from nearly every county, every election since 2020. I'm telling you, Mark's going to be on. We're going to follow this all the way through. I really care about this case and how crazy it is. And
thank you.
And it's a shame, Mark, that that we don't have more coverage. I hope that changes in the near future.
Well, that says a lot too, Roy.
I know it does, and God,
media has become government propaganda.
That's right, it has, and especially in a state that cares nothing about the citizens or election security or anything.
Exactly.
Nick Ware says, Mark is a champ on research. I believe these cronies chose the wrong person to try and make an example. His federal case has a chance because it goes outside of the corrupt Georgia judicial system. You're absolutely right, Nick. And Nick is also a wonderful fighter. You would really like Nick. I think one of these days you and Nick should hook up.
Absolutely.
He does the CSI out of Catoosa County. I mean, he is
cool.
He's a cherished soul to me. He really is.
Awesome.
And he says the justice system in Georgia is ignorant to the Constitution. They laugh. They laugh at it.
Literally, the night, if you listen to that whole exchange that night that I was arrested, every time I quoted from the Constitution, you'll hear me call out one of the commissioners. His name is Scotty Hancock.
Right.
The reason why I call him out is because every time I read the Constitution, he belly laughed and shook his head.
Yep. They'll laugh at you.
So how do you interpret that?
Yeah. Well, I interpret it as clown world. We're in a clown show.
We're in a clown show.
That's all I can even remotely think. Angie Kittle, good to see you tonight, Angie. Thank you for being with us. It sounds like there's no legal way for you to even be in this situation.
It's true.
Very, very true.
But yet I am.
And then Richard Schroeder brings up a great point. Constitutional rights. Ask Colton Moore about it. I mean, we have all witnessed everything that's happened with our state senator, and we continue to witness, which is unbelievable and astounding at this point.
Yes, it is.
And Angie says, yet she wishes more people could and would do what you are doing. It's the truth. We need more. We need more people doing it. Andy Soha, good to see you. Enid Alexander, good to have you. Says Richard Schroeder, but clearly they aren't afraid of any consequences. Clearly they know the crooked state has their back.
That's exactly right.
That's the truth.
That's the only explanation.
That's the truth. We have so many elected officials, unelected officials that work in capacities that we don't even know about, right? That are controlling this thing, and they are tightening their grip on how controlled all of our commission board meetings are, our education meetings are, all our planning and zoning. It's really bad, and it's a clear violation, but they're trying to shut us up because we're getting smarter because of people like Mark.
And we're becoming more vocal.
Yes, 100%. We're not sitting on our hands anymore.
Right.
So, all right, Carol Streeter, good to see you. She says, that is why I am crazy. I'm telling you, this stuff is enough.
Me too.
You just have to laugh sometimes. I call it clown world because it truly is.
Yep.
This whole system of politics and government, it's a clown world, and we have to fight or it will drive us crazy.
That's exactly right.
So let's see. I'm going to go through. Let's see. says Nick Ware says politicians are fearful of attorneys, of course, and then most attorneys are politicians, for crying out loud. It's
Most politicians
kangaroo.
are attorneys.
Right. Carol says they want him to get tired of it and take a plea deal, and boy, have they met their match. Let's see.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the new prosecutor.
Yeah, have they offered you anything?
So nothing in private, but during that February 20th hearing,
Okay.
the prosecutor announced in court that if I would simply plead guilty, he would guarantee there's no jail time.
Are you kidding me?
He announced it in court.
That
And
if-
in fact, the judge chastised him and told him that was not the appropriate place to have a plea agreement.
My Lord.
But all I have to do is plead guilty, Roy, and I get no jail time.
That is, man, that's the craziest thing.
But that's what
and
they
that's
do
on
to
a
everybody.
transcript. That's on a court
It's
transcript.
on the court transcript.
Richard Schroeder says, let's all pray for Mark and justice. God's dominion must come back to
Amen.
God's people.
Amen.
You are, Richard, you
He's a
guys
good
are
friend.
amazing.
He's
I
a
love
good
him to
friend.
death. I love him to death. All right, I'm going to go. I've got a lot of comments here, so I'm going to, and I know Mark we'll go back through and we'll get everybody. Jason Pierce, good to see you. Geraldine Allen, good to see you with us tonight. Let's see here. Jason Pierce says this all goes back to elections. It is the fundamental issue behind all of our current issues.
It is everything.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. Trish Ann Hay says Mark Swanson for governor of Georgia. Boy, would we get some things straightened out.
Oh my gosh.
Would we not get some things straightened out?
That would be a lot of fun.
All right, I'm going to go back through and check the rest of the comments here.
First thing I would do is abolish property taxes. First thing.
Amen.
Just abolish them.
A freaking man. You know, I saw a good Twitter post today that from is it Eagle Guntherman? He said the first governor that abolishes property taxes will be like the national hero, and I was like, you are so correct. So
How do you have a right when you have to pay for it?
I know.
It's not a right.
Agreed.
It's a privilege if
And-
you have to pay for it.
You know, Mark, that's a good thing.
But
We're
in
gonna-
Georgia, we have a right to property, Roy.
yes, I know.
But if you don't pay your property taxes, you don't have that right.
no, absolutely, you get
So
it taken
is our
completely away.
Constitution worthwhile or not?
No, it's not. No, I mean, of course not. They don't take it seriously. Okay, thank you for being with us, TYGT. She's on Rumble. Hey, thanks for catching the live, and loves you too. Thank you for being with us here. And let's see here. She says check the money links. TGNY. I was on a Cherokee grand jury. Same thing with the evidence. They say they have
Really?
it, but don't show it to you.
Wow.
Plus, GJs are sworn to grand
That's
juries.
in Cherokee County?
Yes, this person from Cherokee County. He says, I was on the grand jury. Same thing with the evidence. They say they have it, but don't show it to you. Plus, grand juries are sworn to lifetime secrecy about what happens in session, so can't give detail.
That's not true.
That's not supposed to be true.
That's not true.
Well, I'm sure that it works.
I would love to talk to her more.
I think it's a he.
He.
Yes. So
Okay.
if you would like to reach out after the show, I can
Yeah.
connect you to
Yeah.
Mark Swanson. That's what it's all about,
Yep.
folks.
Yep.
Connecting with each other, getting off of our tails. So please feel free to reach out to me. Send me a message.
I had a hunch
You
that
know.
was a pattern going on everywhere.
Oh, sure. Of course. Are you
But
kidding me?
this is the first time I've heard somebody actually say I was on the grand jury and they wouldn't let them see the evidence.
There you go. So yeah, absolutely. Please reach out and we'll get you hooked up with Mark. Let's see. Loves You Too says, after watching a ton of crap, how the Alex Murdaugh got 100 years in law, deep dives these connections. Yeah, the Murdaugh trial was
That was
crazy.
crazy.
My wife, she listened to it, and then she's like, you have to listen. I think we probably went through like 28 hours
I have
of the
no
Murdaugh
doubt.
trial.
We went through
Holy
a bunch of
moly.
it too. Yeah,
We
it's
would listen
crazy.
to like going on vacation and stuff,
Yep,
and then it got to
yep.
the point where it's like, all right, let's just go drive so we can finish the show. Holy
We've done the
moly!
same thing in
you
my
want
house.
to talk about wild, man? Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Thank
This
you.
one might top it.
Thank you for bringing that up. That is such a wild case right there. All right, let's see
Lots
here.
of comments tonight. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, this is Georgia County law for you. It's
Yep.
a yuckity yuck club, and you ain't in it.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen. Okay, let's see here. Real Viking dude. Oh, that's my boy. That's my boy. Hi, he says, "Hey Roy, this is nuts. Georgia County branches are stacked with establishment uniparty who wants to keep Georgia election outcomes controlled. That is Georgia. When is Trump's DOJ going to save us?" That is the question.
How about our local
of the
GOP
day.
parties?
Are you kidding me? With this sham convention that we just went through, and now the Frost family, God only knows what they're going to cover in that federal case. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Don't even get me started on there. We'd be on here way too long. Thank you for chiming in, man. Let's see. They're trying to make, she said, love
Yes.
you, Jesus. Yes,
Yep.
trying to make you another Tina Peters.
Yep.
I'm telling you. Let's see here. Wow. Yeah, we're getting a bunch.
I'm
The
impressed.
corruption is so embedded.
You're
yeah,
only
we're
halfway
up to
through.
Yeah. So, all right. And remember, we got an Easter egg coming up here. So,
Yes, please
let's
stay
see.
tuned till the very end. You'll
Check
miss
out the
out.
AT&T data. Let's see. How do we ever get out from under this yuckity up? That's the question of the day. How do we get out from here?
So we need to have another session on just the Constitution.
I agree. A lot of people are hungry for it.
I don't think folks understand the power that we have in our founding documents. So we need to come back and just have a session on
I
just
agree.
that.
You got it. We will do that,
Yep.
folks. We're going to. Okay. They're flipping the bird at the FOIA. Who doesn't, I guess. Yeah, and again, and the law escapes me that we came this close in our own Republican legislature this year of being not able to even do these requests.
Of course.
Oh, my Lord. I'm going to get into that on another episode.
They don't want us to see all this.
So, yeah, let's see. Remind yourself they don't get to see evidence from the DA, right? Yeah, exactly. Real Viking says, "Happy hour in Floyd is when they spend your FOIA on bad well drinks and they conspire to illegal profession in Georgia." So,
I like that one.
wow. You guys are awesome.
Unfortunately,
See?
that's true. So.
Yeah, this is why it upsets me I don't get all my comments embedded, because this is what the show's all about. So,
Wait a minute. She put her personal bill in an
yeah.
Excel sheet and deleted what she didn't want you to see.
Yeah,
I think she just made it up.
Right. And let's see here. Legal oversight in Floyd is which black robe is covering the tab for the drinks at happy hour. Oh, that's good. All right, he's got another comment. I was on a grand jury. The true bill to no bill win-loss record is the all-time greatest winning record in all sports for all years combined forever. Grand juries just rubber stamp indictments.
It is scary to think that the one thing that's supposed to protect citizens from government overreach, the grand jury, is powerless.
Right.
They're the last stop. In fact, the primary role of the grand jury in Georgia is actually government oversight.
Right. Supposed to be, right?
Government oversight. I'd love to share with your
I know where
viewers
you're-
about all that.
I know where you're going with that. So, yes. Let's see. So I was on a grand jurors who wanted fair indictments and fought back, but my fellow grand jurors cussed me and wanted to get me out of there and go Christmas shopping. So,
folks who serve on grand juries don't realize what they're putting people through.
Right.
Potentially innocent people.
yes. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. It says Mark needs to work with Shiloh Marks, too, and Jeff Fulgham. So, yeah, you need to meet Jeff Fulgham. I'm going to have him on the show. He was going to run for office, and he decided not to, but he is a rock star down in South Georgia who is
I follow
covering-
a lot of his work.
Okay,
Yep.
you know what I'm talking about. We're going to get him on the show.
Awesome.
He's on the list, guys, and I had to put everything on hold for our wonderful GOP convention, and now that clown show's over with. Thank God. Actually, it's just beginning, probably.
Yeah, probably is just beginning with all the collapse of.
Right.
Yeah.
I like this one. Trump's GOP stuff can't save us. This is what they needed us to do, find the evidence. So, I mean, yeah, it's looking.
got it.
You know, again, I don't want to continue to harp on all this, but again, people ask that question. Where's Trump? Where's the Trump DOJ? I mean, we've got people that are going up into the cabinets. We've got all these things. We've got a ton of positions that are going to be voted on. We've got good grassroots patriot people that are out there running for office and being ignored while we watch the merry-go-round, the circus show continue to play out. Like, where is the SOS here? I believe the SOS is sitting right across from me. This is Mark Swanson. The people like Mark, the people like Voter Georgia, the people that are involved, trying to push this. That's our SOS, and that's who we need to be supporting because Trump's got enough on his plate for crying out loud. They're not coming down here. I'm convinced they're not. I hope I'm wrong. I'm going to eat those words. So.
I hope you're wrong, and I hope you eat those words too.
Yes,
I'm concerned.
please.
I'm concerned.
Okay, Mark. So, hey, everybody, thanks for the comments. So we're going to go on about 20 more minutes. So I'm going to give Mark the floor for what you got for us, Mark.
So I've got a little election surprise from
All
the
right.
2024 election
2024.
in Floyd County.
Okay.
Are you familiar with a slog file?
Not really. So,
It's a system log file.
okay.
And our election management system generates a system log file after the election.
Okay.
Think of it as a record of everything the election management system does while it's operating during an election.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So it's recording kind of
Like
everything.
if a button's pushed,
That's
whatever
right.
goes in and out, any data points.
Exactly. It's just recording. It's like a transcript of what's going on inside the election management
Okay.
system.
Okay.
They're called election slog files. And each one of our tabulators has a slog file.
Okay.
And the tabulator, as you remember, is where you put your vote in that,
And
goes
Chad
in.
goes in.
And they say, hey, watch the counter, see where it goes up. That's a tabulator.
Okay.
It's a scanner tabulator. And it scans your ballot, tabulates the vote. Okay?
Okay.
Now, that machine produces a tape, an election tape, looks like a big CVS tape. It produces the memory card, and obviously the original ballots are in there. So those three things should be used to balance against
Right.
each other. So if they all balance,
It's a check
Bob's
and
your
balance,
uncle.
right?
Okay. Well, the system log file is one other check to make sure that nothing has been tampered with out of those three outputs.
Okay.
Okay. So I ordered the system log files for all of our 24 scanners, ballot scanning devices. Okay.
Okay.
And I have on my screen all of them, all of the system log files for all of the tabulators used in Floyd County for advanced voting in the day of.
All right.
Okay? So there's a bunch of tabulators. I think Floyd County is 26, 23 tabulators, something like that.
All right.
So normally the election management system would just spit out one tabulator at a time.
Okay.
And that way I could go through and look at just one tabulator. But the county, when it comes to election stuff, they love to give me like huge documents. So they take the original output and they convert it into one giant PDF
Of course.
to try to make it harder for me to look at it. But actually, it helped me
Okay.
in this case, okay? So what I'm going to have you show on the screen here in a second is a nearly 4,000 page PDF document,
Holy moly.
okay?
All right.
But it has all of the tabulators in it.
Okay.
Now remember, the tabulators are counting votes, okay? So what you're looking at here is all the votes that went through the 24 general election in Floyd County.
All right.
And I have strong reason to believe this is not an isolated county
Okay.
incident.
Okay.
But not many people look for these system log files, and if you get them and you don't know what you're looking at, it would look like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. So I've got a nearly 4,000 page document. Now, how often should the computer generate an error and you still feel comfortable when it comes to elections?
I would say none, but very few.
So the federal government says one error in 250,000 is acceptable.
Okay. Okay.
It's a pretty small error rate. One error in 250,000.
All right.
So pull up the document
All right. Here we go.
so we can begin to see, and I will describe to you and blow up, just that middle section, that right there. That's what we need to look at. So, again, this is just the first page.
Okay.
But if you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, I've got it circled.
Yes.
So that is a feature that Adobe has where I can search for certain words. And Adobe will go through the entire 3,700 page document and look for those words.
Okay.
And it will highlight those words, and it will count the number of times that word has
Right.
been used in the document.
Okay.
So in this case, I input the words scan error.
Gotcha.
And the reason why is if you look at, there's a little blue box down there below, and actually there's a couple more right after it.
Right.
So this is the first page of that. Actually, this is the 35th page of that 4,000 page document. And I saw the word scan error, and I thought, well, how many times is scan error? Because it looks like, I mean, it's just 3 times right there in a row.
Right.
And remember we said the federal standard is 1 in 250,000?
Right. And you can see the timestamp and everything right there.
Okay. So go back up to the top. I put the word scan error in there, and you can see the blue one down below is number 1 of 4,378.
Oh, wow.
That means the words scan error together, like it's in blue down there below, appear in this document 4,378 times, and the document is 3,794 pages long.
Holy
So
moly.
that means at least 1, but there's 3 on this page. But that averages to 1.5 times error rate per page.
And this is just Floyd
Just
County.
Floyd County.
Holy moly. Holy moly. I mean, is there even a reason? Is there?
Here's a theory. Okay, it's a working theory, and I'm working with some other election teams across the country who are. It's like we're all looking at different little pieces, but now we're starting to connect the dots.
Okay.
The theory is that there is an algorithm that is being used by a third party,
Okay. Wow. Okay.
not a political party, a company. And they're using the error rate to slip in different votes using the algorithm. So every time there's an error rate generated, then it allows the system to adjudicate that vote. But they're automatically adjudicated by a third party which has access to the system.
So the scan error is a trigger to slip in a different vote by an
Correct.
outside entity.
Correct.
That's the theory.
That's the theory. Now, it's a theory based upon a lot of evidence.
Yes, right. Yeah, you're not just pulling this theory out of thin air like this is wow.
And, you know, we're trying to wrap up this show, so...
Oh, my God.
And I don't want to give all of my
Yes.
juice because
Sure.
I'm in the process of putting a class action lawsuit,
Okay.
at least against Floyd County and perhaps the state of Georgia, for violating election laws and our constitutional
Which they are
election requirement.
openly doing in the first place, regardless.
Correct.
Yes.
Because if we don't secure our elections, if the people don't have control over the elections, we're living under tyranny now.
That is correct.
Because we don't get to decide who represents us. And that's why they ignore us.
That's right.
Because they are not representing us.
No.
They get picked by the government. Or I'm not even 100% sure who's at the far end of this, Roy. I can connect some dots for you. In fact, how much time we got left?
We've got some time. We're about 10 minutes
Okay.
left to be fine.
I want to show you something real quick.
Okay.
Everybody can do this for your own county. So if we got people across the
Sure.
state,
I got you. I'm pulling it up
go
now.
to the Georgia
All right, guys. Here's the homework assignment.
Secretary of State.
We need all people watching, paying attention. Here we go.
We don't want to go to the corporation. Let's just go to the homepage of Secretary of State.
Okay.
We've got to verify that we're human as soon as it lets us. And we're going to go to Georgia election results. We're going to go to view. Oh, no, not for the 2025. We want the 2024 November. They've moved this around since I was last
sure
year.
they always do.
Where did they put?
Now there's one right there says election results November 5th, 2024 general election.
Where do you see
That's
that?
it says certified write-in votes. I see. That's
Yeah,
not what
that's
we're looking
write-in
for.
votes. That's not what we want. So let's go up here. They've moved this around. Election stats.
Surely they wouldn't try to confuse people.
Oh,
on
no.
this. No.
Well, I didn't realize they had moved this page around.
It'd be nice if we could get Brad to comment on this. You know?
Yeah, it would.
Say, hey, Brad, you want to call in? Hey, Brad Raffsberger, would you like to call into the show? You can call into the show and you can help walk us through this, please, sir.
So, November general election. Here we go. Finally found it. And
Okay.
let's look at Floyd County,
All right.
since that's my county. Or let's look at your county.
Sure.
Let's look at Walker County. Let's go back. Since I'm here with you, where's Walker? Is
Right there. That's it.
That one right there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we're going to look at vote method. So now we want to view the results by precinct. So what we're looking at is the presidential vote. This is the 2024 presidential vote. Noticed it was last updated January the 22nd. I mean, January the 2nd.
Okay.
It's like months after the election.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So we're going to look at, in Walker County, the results of the presidential election by precinct.
Okay.
Okay? So you probably are familiar with some of these precincts.
I am.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first of all, you're going to see this little yellow label come up. It says some results have been hidden in cases where not enough ballots were cast to ensure voter privacy. These results are represented by a dash instead of a number.
What does that mean, Mark?
So what they're saying is if there's too few votes, we're just going to put a dash, because you might be able to figure out who voted in this precinct. So if it's a low number,
Okay.
they're going to put a dash, is what they're warning us.
Okay.
Okay, but we're going to put that to the test.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So first precinct, and we want to look at vote method.
Okay. There's dashes all over this thing.
What precinct is it?
That's Lafayette. That's the town seat or the county seat.
Does it have a lot of votes?
4,817 votes. I would say that's the city of Lafayette. So
And we don't know how many went advanced. We don't know
We
how
don't
many
know
went
anything.
election
We just
day.
have totals.
We don't have absentee. We don't have provisional.
we've got no information.
4,817 votes. We don't have a clue.
We don't have a clue.
Now, why is that?
I don't know.
Do you think 4,817 is too few votes?
No, I don't.
Now, looky here. Walnut Grove. Do you know that one?
Holy moly.
Do
Yeah.
you know Walnut Grove?
Yes. A 1,1771. That's probably
Is-
really good for Walnut Grove.
Is
actually.
1,771 votes less than
Yeah,
4,817?
yeah. Yes.
So under
yes.
this little warning, we should be seeing Lafayette, but not Walnut Grove, right? Because Walnut Grove,
Yes, yes.
we've got 2 votes there. We've got 6 votes there. We got 1 vote there.
Wow.
Something is fishy, isn't it?
And something is very fishy. Rock
Rock
Springs,
Springs?
which had that's my precinct. They had more votes,
5,000
Yeah.
votes.
and then no.
They're all blank.
information.
Armurchie Valley,
What?
only 1,200 votes. Look, we've got 1 vote there.
This doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Mountain, 900 votes, 4,700 votes, and nothing. We don't have a clue.
No.
Now, I can keep going all day long to all your precincts, okay?
Now, could this possibly be because they just haven't updated it yet? I mean, what is going on here?
When was the 2024 election?
Exactly, November of 2024, and it's
July?
January. Yeah, it's July now, and it was updated January, and you have all. I don't understand
This
this.
is from the official Secretary of State website, Roy. Now, who maintains this record for the Secretary of State? Does the Secretary of State do it? Do they do it?
I would say that the precincts maintain it, right? The county election board.
But this is the Secretary of State's record. This is the official record of the state.
Okay.
And they can't tell us who voted advanced for presidential race, election day, absentee. They don't have any record of that?
Yeah.
Well, if you'll pay real close attention right down here.
Powered by, and let me pull that up. Powered by, and is it say enhanced voting?
Enhanced voting. Pull that up.
The crap does advanced voting mean?
I'm going to show you.
Powered by enhanced voting.
We pay them millions and millions and millions of dollars to report our totals for the Secretary of State. Okay. Would you like to know a little bit about them?
I would. I think our audience would like to know a little bit about them.
All you had to do is click on that link at the bottom.
Okay. Let me pull this back into frame. All right. So we're about to learn about enhanced voting. Okay.
So this is, and if you look, there's an About Us. So we can go to About Us, and we can look at our team. And if you read through here, these people appear to be some of the smartest, brightest, experienced election voting record keepers anywhere in the world.
Okay.
I mean, if you read through their bios as I have, I mean, these are impressive resumes.
Okay.
Okay? So let's stop and think about that. You've got this company who we pay millions of dollars to report our totals for our official records. And they're full of smart people, and they can't tell us.
It's blowing my mind.
It's right here under our nose.
Yeah, it's like it's right there in your face. Like, who in the crap ever heard of enhanced voting? I've never heard of this in my life. I mean, this is the first time.
The state election board doesn't have a lot of money, but they have enough money because a lot of the payments for enhanced voting came out of the state election board budget.
Wow.
The state election board budget. You know, the one who's supposed to investigate election fraud?
And they're paying
enhanced voting.
Enhanced voting.
And what are we getting?
Well, we're certainly not getting what we're supposed to be getting. Dude.
There you go.
Holy moly. That is I got cold chills as you drop that. It's right in our face, Mark. It's right in our face.
And that's the way they work.
Yeah.
They like to be in our face.
Man.
They're just daring us.
So
we need to come back together and talk about where do we go from here.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there is a path that our founding fathers gave us.
Yeah. Yep.
Our constitutions are our way forward.
That's right.
And we don't have to rely on the government to enforce them. It is not them. We ask them to enforce it, but if they don't, we get to. And it's all in the documents. Wow. And I'd love to come back on and start talking about that.
Absolutely, Mark. I mean, I can tell you this is some of my most favorite shows. I mean, I honestly, I still can't believe that this is all happening to you. Especially,
either.
And guys, I'm going to go back and on this episode, and I'm, because Facebook, they now delete this. I'm going to post to YouTube part 1, part 2. So anybody on their free time wants to go back and really get into the meat and potatoes of this, he lays it all out.
Thank you, Roy.
It's astounding to me that it's like in the Bible, the mustard seed.
Yes.
This is a mustard seed. And we are living in divine providence, and this is the war that we're at.
It's the war. This is not a war against flesh and blood.
No,
it's a war against principalities.
That's right, and we have to have people fighting it. If your mind's not blown from hearing this and understanding just how serious this is. I mean, and I'm seeing more drops. Georgia Nerds, I follow them a lot. They've got more things dropping. We already covered what the report from Garland Favorito voter Georgia on Brad Raffensperger. We've got a huge election coming up, and the Republican Party is they're
out to lunch,
dancing and prancing around. Okay, wow,
doing whatever they do.
Well, Mark, I tell you what, give us just a little bit of insight. What do you think's in the future here? And I'm going to give you the last word before we go off. Okay.
Well, I think, at least in Floyd County, I think the citizens of Floyd County have had enough.
Amen.
I can't tell you how many people have been reaching out to me and support me.
That's great.
It is an unbelievable number.
Crap. You have a Give, Send, Go too. I forgot to put it up there.
Okay.
I'll put it in the comments. He's got a Give, Send, Go, guys. If anyone wants to give to him, don't give it. Don't worry about me. You give it to Mark. But we'll get
it's
it in
actually another entity that controls it. I don't have any control over the money.
They reached out to me. We'll get it up there in the comments.
I have no control over the money.
Gotcha.
They want to help, and I'm glad to have their help. On my Facebook page, I've been averaging about 750,000 views every 90 days.
Wow, that's great.
There's only 100,000 people that live in Floyd County.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So my reach is well beyond Floyd County. Mm-hmm. And I know this anecdotally because I get calls, I get messages from all over the country. People are following this, and they've had enough. And I think we're reaching a boiling point where the people are going to demand something be done.
Right.
And honestly, Roy, that's where we need. We need it to be back in the people's hands. We got here, Roy, because we didn't do our job as citizens. Right. We got lazy. We got interested in things that really don't matter, and we've taken our eyes off the things that matter the most, like our freedom. Yeah. We've taken it for granted, and it's been slowly chiseled out from underneath us. We're being taxed to death. We're not able to. We've got seniors that aren't able to stay in their homes because of property taxes. Mm-hmm. We don't live in the land of the free anymore. We're all burdened to the government. We're basically working for the government. And if you like that sort of thing, there's a lot of other countries you can go to, Roy.
Sure.
But if you want to live truly free, we've got to fight for ours.
Amen.
And it starts right here at home. It doesn't start in D.C. or New York or L.A. It starts in Walker County and Floyd County and Chattooga County. It starts right here where we live.
And you think we got it made, but all of these cities and these towns, these different places are falling apart. Guess where they're going to come?
That's right.
They're going to come right to our areas and move in, and they're going to expect to have the same thing and ruin it if we don't stand up and fight for it.
So it's time we stand up.
Okay.
It's time we stand up, brother.
Well, again, Mark, this has been a wonderful episode. People like you that are in the trenches are what makes this worthwhile. And I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you and everything you're doing, and we'll continue to support you. Guys, I'm going to post the Give, Send, Go link in the comments tonight. If you've watched this, I will post part 1 and part 2 for all the people that want to go in the rabbit hole, because it is a wild story. And
they can always go to my Facebook page.
Yes, and then go to Mark Swanson. I'll make sure, click on his name, follow him on Facebook. I see his stuff all the time. It's impressive, guys. If we had an army of people out here doing what Mark and other people are doing, we would get some things done.
Well, the good news is we're building one.
That's right. Every single day. This is what I told. I said I'm not going to say who I said this to, Mark, but every single day we are gaining somebody who's coming out of the shadows and saying, I want to get involved. At some point, the powers that be cannot ignore us any longer. That's all there is to it.
Amen, brother.
All right. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday evening with us. It's been a blessing. We'll be back Wednesday night. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you soon.
The legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carriers that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.